Good evening. I would like to call the March 21st, 2023 Planning Commission meeting to order. Please note this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city's website and teleconference via Zoom. I would like to remind the Planning Commission to have their microphones turned on and positioned so the audience can hear. Director Lopez, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Robert Booth. Absent without notice. Okay. Commissioner Dana Hill.
Present.
Commissioner John Worth.
Here.
Vice Chair Jacob Beamsderfer.
Here.
And Chair Cindy Lemke.
Present.
Excellent.
Okay, invocation and flag salute, please stand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, we ask you to guide us through this meeting tonight so that we make the best decisions for this community and our city residents and those that travel throughout. In your name we pray, amen. Agenda item 4A is the approval of minutes for the meeting of March 7th, 2023. Does the commission have any questions or corrections for the minutes of March 7th? Without hearing any questions or comments, do I hear a motion?
I'd make a recommendation to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting, March 7th, 2023. I'll second.
That passes. 3 approved, 1 abstain. Agenda item number 5 is a public comment period for items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public present that would like to comment on an item that is not on the agenda? Are there any members of the public joining via teleconference or Zoom that would like to comment? Ms. Hernandez, were there any e-comments received?
I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and I did not receive any e-comments.
Thank you. There are no receive and file items for this meeting. Continue items. Item 7A, tentative track map number 38309 at administrative adjustment 22-003 for Ramona Creek specific plan. Principal Planner Monique.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Planning Commission and the community, I'm Monique Alaniz-Slater, Principal Planner. This evening is a proposal for tentative track map 38309 for Ramona Creek Phase 1, map 21005. The owner is WSI Poppy Ridge LLC, WSI Desert Properties LLC. Applicant is William Ingram, Rockwell Land Company. The property is located on developed land located on the north and south sides of West Devonshire, between Myers Street to the east and Warren Road to the west. The project before you this evening, tonight we're going to be looking at the overall findings required for a tentative track map, and those are that the findings of that the project is consistent with the general plan and the Ramona Creek specific plan, that the design and improvements are suitable for the proposed type of development, the density as proposed is suitable, and that there are no impacts to fish and wildlife or their habitat, and no impacts to public health. The Planning Commission's authority for track map in accordance with section 70-133C of the Hemet Municipal Code authorizes the Planning Commission to review and approve the subdivision proposal. The proposal also includes an administrative adjustment in which generally the community development director can review administrative adjustments. However, when the approval body is the planning commission shall approve or consider the administrative adjustment accompanying the application. So the property described before you here, it is located on the north side of Florida Avenue, between Warren Road to the west and Myers Street to the east. And it's located within the Ramona Creek specific plan. This is a general overview of the development. Surrounding land uses include the Tres Cerritos West development to the north, the Auto Mall to the south of Florida Avenue, Myers Street to the east, Old Warren Road, and then Warren Road to the west. The general plan land use designation of the property is low, medium density residential, as well as a mix of mixed use land use density. The zoning of the property is Ramona Creek specific plan, and this is a master plan community for that area, which includes a mixture of residential, multifamily, and commercial uses. This is the overall map of the Ramona Creek specific plan. Highlighted are the parcels for the proposed development. The parcels 7 and 8, 9 and 10 are on the north side of Celeste Road, also known as Rose Road, as well as the parcels to the south. You'll see a greenway or green belt, and we'll kind of discuss how that ties into this overall development in just a moment. So you'll see this is parcel 9 and 10, and the overall number of units are 219 residential lots with an average lot size of 5,400 square feet. The applicant is proposing the 5,400 square foot to accommodate the density range for these properties. The minimum lot size specified in the Ramona Creek specific plan is 6,000 square feet. However, because the net lot area after roadway improvements and landscaping, parkway improvements, the net buildable area could achieve with this and meeting the target density, the minimum or average lot size of 5,400 square feet. So this is the 20% adjustment that is being requested to be authorized by the Planning Commission this evening. This is parcels 9 and 10. We did request that the applicant provide a lot fit analysis just to ensure what kind of building pad site could be accommodated on the property. And we were able to ascertain that. They provided evidence through this lot fit analysis. This is the property to the south, and this is going to be a proposed detached cluster development. I'm going to kind of move it forward here. Let's see. This is a detached cluster development, and these lots are a little bit smaller. I will show and demonstrate kind of what are the designs that we can look for in the future. Tonight is not the design, not the model home complex review, but we are going to show you some concepts tonight so that you can have a vision of what we might see coming forward when the home builders are ready to come and develop this property. This is emergency access plan, which shows also access. The fire department did review this. These are a little bit different because they are townhomes, and there are going to be some of the lots in there are private street easements. So I'm sorry, I apologize for jumping back and forth on these slides, but lot 9 and 10, there's a lot fit analysis that was also done, and we kind of looking at what the single family homes on the north side of Celeste Road would look like. So they provided a footprint, a buildable footprint to demonstrate that it can comply. And these are conceptual architectural plans that the applicant was willing to provide to us, which we really appreciate, that help demonstrate, you know, the type of housing product we would that would fit on lots 9 and 10. And also these, you know, it take into consideration the smaller lot sizes as well. So they were able to confirm that. So here's the cluster development detached condominium map that should have been presented earlier on, but it just kind of gives you an idea. This is the condo detached clustered on the south side of Devonshire. It shows a remote creek drainage open space corridor, which kind of gives an idea of how that's going to interface with that development and the overall phase 1 of this development. This is a lot fit analysis prepared for the detached clustered condominiums. This is the kind of street profile you might see in a private street easement condition, and I'll kind of show an illustration of what they might look like. So these are the architectural renderings provided. A little bit smaller, smaller footprint, building footprint. They're more in line with the condominium style development. They did provide us an example that's been, it's already been built, a similar type of product. So this is kind of what we're looking for when it comes forward to the Planning Commission for the actual architectural plans. This is the overall circulation and mobility plan. We have here the overall street network of arterials, collectors, and secondary roadways. The applicant will be providing their improvements outlined in the conditions of approval. They will be providing roadway improvements on Devonshire, Celeste Road, and Warren Road. Some of the improvements you might notice here is what kind of improvements would be proposed. And these are the roadway designations for the Ramona Creek specific plan that you might see on Devonshire, as well as Celeste Road. These do provide 2-lane width bike lanes, parkway, landscaping, and sidewalks. Also, some of the secondary streets, B and C, A, additional roadway configurations. This part is the open space, drainage, and amenity. The drainage plan for the project is to provide a basin channel system that is used as a project amenity, as well as flood protection. And it can be phased to eventually become a segment of an ultimate regional drainage solution. And this is kind of the design that we're concepting. This is what the applicant is illustrating as required by the Ramona Creek specific plan. This is more of the amenity that you might see inside the drainage corridor. There are pedestrian trails planned, multi-use trails, dry creek drainage, and detention basins. The administrative adjustment, as mentioned previously, is based off of these 3 findings: that there are unique physical circumstances that are applicable to the subject property, that the zoning within and of itself deprives the property of right to use the land as concepted, and the approval of the administrative adjustment does not constitute a grant of special privileges. So in this case, we looked at it and we looked at the overall planned gross acreage for each parcel in the specific plan. We might see this moving forward, that the net buildable area after roadway improvements and detention basins, right-of-ways are required, that the net buildable, it didn't quite factor in the targeted densities that they were trying to achieve. So based on that, we believe we can make the findings, that there is findings to support the administrative adjustment for the average lot sizes of 9 and 10. I did want to describe and discuss the alternative Hemet Unified School District site. When we looked at this and we looked at the specific plan, there is an overlay designation built into the specific plan for area 10 located on the north side. This was the original school site location. And that in the specific plan describes it to allow to respond to market conditions. The applicant has been working with the Hemet Unified School District to discuss and negotiate terms for purchase of the site for future school use. However, since then, they haven't quite been able to come up with an agreement for this particular parcel because the school district is not prepared at this time to present an offer for the school site, the building of the school site on parcel 10. The specific plan does not state that it has to be built. It does allow for a contingency. In that case, since then, staff has been working with and corresponding with both the applicant and the school district. And the solution that was presented originally was that a condition be built into this track map to require them to, the applicant to come back and do a specific plan amendment to include the parcel to the south illustrated as an alternative site. And when looking at the practicality of that condition, looking at this particular track map, it was considered that it would be a barrier for the developer or who the home builder is to be able to have to come back and do the specific plan amendment first. So with that, the applicant has provided a letter indicating they are willing to come back to amend the specific plan to include the alternative site to the south for a school. They have provided a letter describing that, and that letter has been received by the school district. To date, staff has not received any additional correspondence from the school district in favor or opposition to that letter. However, staff finds this to be a workable solution for both parties this time. With that, this concludes my presentation. It is respectfully recommended that the Planning Commission review and number one, find that the general plan that the project be consistent with the Ramona Creek specific plan, that the site is suitable for the development and the density as outlined in the findings of the staff report identified that density ranges are met, as well as compliance with conditions 4 and 5. The city council had certified an environmental impact report in June 10th of 2014 for the specific plan. Therefore, the project is in compliance with CEQA section 15162 of the state CEQA guidelines. This item was continued from the February 21st, 2023 Planning Commission meeting, and it was continued at that time. To date, staff received one letter, and it was a letter of concern by a Mr. James Taylor, and in that he just recommended that the Planning Commission consider construction costs and the market changes, and just made recommendation that perhaps the council would consider considering, and I'm not sure this is the condition you can implement into the proposal, but that the local workforce in the community, the contractors of our community, could participate in any construction efforts in local development. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions for staff, commissioners?
I have a question.
Bill, please.
Okay, thank you. Monique, how you doing? Um, I was with you all the way until you started talking about the school. And the school is taking some of the lot 10 area. Is that correct?
The specific plan calls out that parcel 10 could either be a school or residential. It could
Okay.
be to either use.
So if the school is there, does that take away from the 219 units that are there? Or,
So the school, actually, no, so the school would not be there. The 219 units will be there. The school would be relocated to the south. Yes.
okay, so the plan at this point is to relocate the school to the south, but you got to get the school district to buy in on it. Is that basically what's happening?
Yeah, so actually the school district expressed their desire for the location to the south. They have provided in writing their interest in that parcel 4. 4A and 4B highlighted in orange, and it's marked as an alternate site of 12 acres.
Okay.
They have expressed their interest in this area specifically. They are interested in this area specifically. However, the terms have to be negotiated with the developer.
Okay. All right. I think I got you. Thank you. Back to
Commissioner
you.
Worth, you're welcome.
Hey, Monique, thank you so much for bringing the school district in and getting their input. Couple questions on that. So the specific plan amendment, is there any trigger that says that, hey, there has to be this application for the SPA needs to be submitted prior to a certain point? I don't see, there's nothing in the conditions of approval. It's just in the staff report. Is there anything that kind of like sets a time clock, if you will, to
Mhm.
get that SBA going to make sure that the school has a spot reserved for their, well, the school district has a spot reserved for their school?
Yes, I would have, because it's not incorporated into the conditions of approval for phase 1. I would defer that question to the applicant, as they would have to come back. And I would like, for them to just comment on that when what their intent is.
Okay. Okay. A couple other comments. So with the reduction in down to 5,400 square foot lots, and then also with the detached or the detached
The cluster.
clustered thing. Thank you.
Mhm.
One of the things that is coming up from the state is in addition from SB 9 for the densification, but is also from a water use efficiency and per capita use, and implementing conservation, down to I think it's a 43 gallons per capita per day or something. What that's kind of resulting in is the need for each individual residence to have a individual meter. There's a lot of these alleyways and that type of development that's coming in, and the challenge that we're seeing is that in order to get an individual meter to each residence, those alleyways need to be a certain width in order to facilitate a public easement for the water line to get them in there. So is there anything in there? I think the minimum is like a 40-foot wide easement. Is there anything kind of laid out at this point as to what those alleys would be when you start having, 4, 5, 6 detached residences up in an alley with you're going to end up having these huge clusters of meters somewhere else, and then all these spaghetti lines going up through them.
I do know that these outlined in the specific plan and in the conditions of approval, they would be considered a minimum 24 foot 24 foot wide minimum paved.
Yeah, and that's going to be something that's going to be a challenge when they go into Eastern Municipal Water District, and because Eastern's going to require individual meters for each residence. This is also happens to be a recycled water site that's going to be required to use recycled water for all landscaping. So that's going to cause a lot of challenges in terms of getting the infrastructure and the individual residences meters and the landscaped area. I don't know if that's something for discussion at this point. I just, it's something that based on what was presented here, there's going to be a lot of challenges when it comes time to try to get the infrastructure in. Both in those detached areas, and then also on the 5,400 square foot lots, in the conditions of approval, there's LLMDs laid out, but is there anything about HOAs? Is there any concept on what those front yards on the 5,400 square foot lots would be? Is that currently planned to be owner maintained, or is there a path forward to make those HOA maintained? Or do we know that yet?
Right, so the parcels 9 and 10 would be more of the traditional development, where you have your landscape parkways design surrounding the developments, but the landscaping on site would be maintained by the homeowner unless there was some kind of easement established to be maintained by the HOA. But those would only be the lettered lots that are identified on this tract map. And in this case, it would be unless I'm corrected by the applicant, it's maintained by the property owner.
Okay, I think that's something that's going to, as the conservation stuff is evolving, that's going to be something that'll be probably looked at a little bit more closely in terms of what is the maximum size lots that would afford a owner maintained front yard versus a common HOA maintained front yard for those smaller, higher dense developments. So I guess my only other comment possibly to the conditions of approval would be maybe that I think it's condition 22 that we add a little bit of language to it. We've talked about this on some prior projects, but something along the lines of landscape and irrigation plans must be designed in accordance with Hemet Municipal Code and Eastern Municipal Water District Administrative Code. Just to kind of put that out up front, that there's a little more work to do. And that's all. And I'll reserve the school stuff for when that's open for public.
It's always good to have a water guy here. Really, there's not too many questions. Stoplight at A Street in Florida, is that just, it says projected, that's just something that will come later if we feel the need that the stoplight should be installed right there in Florida and A Street?
Is there a specific condition that's referred to?
Well, it has
Obviously,
a
there
different-
are
on
there
one
are
map,
some
it has a
conditions.
kind of black and white
Yes.
circle where it says projected.
Yeah, so there are some future roadway improvements and intersection roadway improvements that are triggered by this development and not triggered. There could be future, and it depends on the number of building permits that are issued. So there's a phasing plan for the Ramona Creek specific plan. I believe that the applicant can confirm those improvements, roadway improvements, and the timing. I believe that parcels 7 and 8, the condo clustered at Devonshire, and this roadway that runs north and south, there would be a signalized intersection at that point tied to this development. And there's also in lieu fees or fair share payments for future roadway improvements for the overall Ramona Creek specific plan.
Just a couple more too, and it's just kind of thinking ahead a little bit. But if we move to school, I'm not sure how many feet E Street is to C Street, and and how many feet it is in separation there, but we have commercial coming in, and it's quite a big commercial lot that's coming in there. And I don't know if future businesses are going to be impacted by having a school nearby when it comes to the place of business that they want to open up. So that's just something I'm thinking ahead for the commercial side of it. 'Cause I know like liquor stores or smoke shops or other stores like that would not be able to occupy this entire area if it's within like 1,000 feet from that school. And so that's just one thing I have concern about for the business part of it. And James Taylor, I agree. I think we should get more of our local citizens and business owners involved in some of these constructions, so it helps the locals. And I'm not sure exactly how much we involve our local businesses in these constructions, but I think it's a great idea. Yeah, other than that, that's about it.
All right. With that, we'll open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public present or online that would like to comment on this item? Ms. Hernandez, were there any comments submitted?
I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and I did not receive any e-comments.
Any other questions or? Is the applicant present? Would you like to come up and address the commission?
I'm a little rusty being in person, so I apologize if I stutter or have a couple ums here, but Derek Barber, Richland Communities. I work for the owner, which is WSI, Poppy Ridge and Desert. I forget the other LLC. So anyway, we've been working with the city, Monique and staff for better part of about 1.5 years now on this tentative map. So it's been a long time coming. I'm really excited to be here tonight to talk to you about the application. The specific plan was approved back in 2014. We bought the property a couple years after that from Regent Properties, and we've been working on that tentative map since. So we don't have all the initial conception of the Ramona Creek specific plan, but I would say it's one of the better specific plans I've ever kind of been involved in. So a lot of thought to the phasing, the design, just the overall land use and again, thoughtfulness of that plan. So we kind of picked up from where it left off in this tentative map. I kind of wrote down a couple of the questions that you had, but the real important part about Ramona Creek is it solves a regional drainage issue. Is right now Seattle Basin at Costin is really undersized for all the drainage that comes from the east side of Hemet and west. And right now it actually pumps out onto our other property, which is Tres Cerritos East, just because there's insufficient capacity. So the implementation of Ramona Creek specific plan creates this big regional basin where the water can eventually get to and has capacity for it. So, it really is kind of one of those projects where it's helping solve a much bigger issue in the community. And, it's kind of an elegant solution, I think, where the city's worked hard to incorporate landscape features and trails and different amenities within that, where it's not just kind of a wasteland of open space for drainage conditions. So let's see. So the school district obviously was a big question and topic. I heard that a couple times. We've been working with the school district since probably about June of last year. First off, we would love to sell them a school site. There's no better thing to have in a master plan community than a school. The school district wasn't ready to purchase the site at PA9. So in coordinating with them, we said, well, we'd love to have you somewhere within the specific plan. And that's where we identified the other site. They've since reviewed that site. They said that site looks great to them. Obviously, the questions on the specific plan amendment for this tentative map, because whoever the home builder is of that map wouldn't control that other site. It'd be very hard for them to control their destiny on the implementation of their tentative map with a condition to that school site. in a specific plan that really they don't own the remainder of the property. So that's where, working with the city, we tried to submit letters just to let them know, hey, as the current owner, we're committed to processing a specific plan amendment to address that site. There's also the likelihood that the school may never move forward on the site there. The school district has a tendency to reserve as many sites as they possibly can. And, ultimately they may never actually end up building a school site there. So the specific plan kind of planned ahead for that situation, in this first case where it's really residential land use with a school overlay on top of it. So the school had the option to come in. They're choosing to waive that option at this point in time. But again, we'd really love for a school to be within the specific plan. Let's see. On the, questions on the water and the, easements and widths. We've developed this single family kind of, I think townhome got mentioned, but it's a true single family home where it clusters on a shared street. I like to call them the new mini cul-de-sac. It really, these are great little enclaves of these 6 or 8 pack homes where they all share this little street. There's no through traffic, so the kids can play on the alleys. And really, it's a lot safer condition. For the water, traditionally, the meters get banked out on I'll say the frontage street of those homes, and then it's private water systems from that meter back, which in other areas where we've done it with EMWD, it seems to have been working out. If there's new issues with that, and maybe I'm not up to speed on it, but previously, as long as the public meter's there and it's private from their back, we've been able to kind of accommodate everybody's needs. Just one other note on the administrative adjustment. A good majority of the lots are actually above 5,400 square feet. There's a table within the tentative map. There's, a handful of lots that are right at that 5,400. And like Monique described, it's just a product of once we try to fit all the homes in, we're getting really tight on meeting that lot minimum. So, we appreciated working with staff and the review on that to allow the adjustment, but it's not a blanket. Every home is only 5,400 square feet. There's actually quite a few that are more than that. Your comment on condition number 22, I think we'd be okay with whatever is the appropriate language. Happy to work with staff on what that language is. I don't know if we'll come up with it tonight, but it sounds like you might have what kind of has been workable for other tentative tracks. I don't see an issue with that. As far as Devonshire and the improvements, it really kind of take walking through the specific plan, but everything's timed appropriately. They studied the traffic a bunch of different ways as far as what planning area moves forward, when improvements need to be done. But essentially for this track map from Myers to Warren, Old Warren, Devonshire gets built out full width, and then signals come in at appropriate times when there's a certain amount of units for that track. So depending on whether Tres Cerritos West to the north of this track moves forward, kind of dictates some of the Celeste Rose Road improvements. And then the basin is really the south side of this. So there's no improvements south of the basin until the south tracks move forward on, I think, what Monique was referring to, kind of phase 2 of the property. As far as working with the businesses, would love to. We've had the kind of Florida frontage out to market since we bought the property. Limited interest, some interest at the hard corners, next to the Circle K and on the other side at Warren, but really it's kind of it's been limited as far as anybody's interest there. Maybe one day when Warren becomes a much bigger thoroughfare, or Florida gets a little more traffic, but it's been there just hasn't been any immediate interest in businesses wanting to land there quite yet. And as far as the trade base, we always do our best efforts to work with the local trades. It tends to work out for us. They know the community, they know, where the labor supply is. We're still, two things we struggle with are affordability and just labor. It's across the board. Every community we work in, we struggle to find enough qualified trades, and then also just showing up on a job. So we hope to move this track forward and, create a new epicenter for Hemet over here at Ramona Creek. And I appreciate, everybody's time. So any other further questions, happy to answer them. Stick around before or after the meeting.
Well, thanks, Derek, and it's nice to see you. On a side note, I worked with Derek on several other projects with Eastern, and you've been great to work with, and I appreciate that. Just out of curiosity, how would this, if you could like walk through what the process would look like with the school district in terms of like what would come first? I mean, I can understand both sides of that, right? Where the school wants to reserve a spot, but they don't want to write the check yet. And you want to have the school there, but you also want to have the ability to develop it if the school doesn't come. So what's kind of the sequence of events as you see it?
For Ramona Creek specifically, we want to keep the project moving forward. So, once this tentative map is approved, I would imagine our next step is we're going to bring in that specific plan amendment with a new overlay for it. So at that point in time, we'll get to work with the district on it. To be honest, the school district really can go anywhere at any point in time. They operate by state, requirements. They really don't have to have anyone really tell them that it's okay to put a school here. They go through the state and CDE to do it. So I've experienced kind of both sides of that. If we get the specific plan amendment in, obviously staff and the school will have a chance to comment on it. I think Monique did a great job of including all the correspondence between us and the school district. There's also a noted, I think it's page 116 or so. Yeah, 116 of the package. It shows the school site in a little more detail and what, we had proposed to them. If the specific plan amendment gets approved, we'd be in kind of the same situation where we'll be bringing forward more subdivision maps for kind of the balance of Ramona Creek. And at that point in time, the school district could either choose to move forward on it again or, waive that opportunity. Usually they need rooftops. And so if we're moving forward on the north side, that's a good sign for them that I would imagine, they'll have kind of the thresholds that they need to afford that. We pay school fees that help go build that school or buy that school, as well as, there may be a CFD or something along those lines that help them afford that. We work with the school district and a couple other areas within their jurisdiction. And, we've sold them property before that they're a good buyer. It's just got to be timed right. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. So I guess, within the letter that you provided, it said either, I forget exactly, a letter of interest, a letter of intent and or sales contract. So, those are two really different things. So, but if the next step is a SBA, then it seems like a letter of intent to say, hey, yeah, we would want to do this, and there's probably some qualifications on their end as well, as far as what that means. But
I've never seen the district offer a letter of intent other than something very vague that gives them, could be some 5-year timeline to make a decision and a very long diligence period. So, again, the city, I think, has been good working with the district to make sure they get the chance to have the opportunity to find these sites. But obviously we can't twist their arm to do it.
Right. But a letter of intent of something along those terms that are somewhat vague would be acceptable for you to move forward with the SBA.
We do it without the letter of intent. Yeah, maybe I didn't make that clear. So,
Gotcha. Because that was the wording in the letter was that you would need that prior to submitting the application for the SBA.
Yeah, maybe we didn't phrase that as best we could have, but we want a school site within the specific plan. So our interest would be to process an amendment that still has a school site potential.
That alleviates all of that. And then also just to your point on the water stuff, Yeah, that's what you referenced is kind of the common thing. One of the things we're dealing with when it's recycled water, and how we deal with the common area landscaping. So we're working, putting a different hat on real quick, but it's something that you'll have to address. And I would suggest you do it early with EMWD.
Yes.
Because
We've
it's
learned our lessons there. We try to do, even we're working on the design conditions for this track that, probably was ahead of the usual process, but similar reasons is we want to make sure we can accommodate all those needs.
and I agree. This SP looks great. It looks like a very well planned and a lot of amenities for the community. So very thankful as a resident that you guys are moving it forward, and I'm looking forward to seeing it go.
Any other questions, commissioners? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll close the public hearing. Do I hear a motion?
So first I'll start with the minor modification.
According to the attorney, it's not necessary to put that in there as they can put it in the conditions. Thank you.
Well, then in that case, that makes it easy. So I move that we approve resolution track map 38309 and the administrative adjustment 22-003 is illustrated in the development plan shown in packet 1, that's 1B through 1G, subject to conditions of approval outlined in exhibit 1.
Second.
Okay, good. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Vice, there you go. And that passes 4-0. Congratulations.
And if I could share real quick, just Monique, thank you so much I know there was a lot of effort working with the school district on that. So thank you for all that effort.
Thank you, Monique. Number 8, there are no public hearing items. Number 9, there are no work study items. Number 10A, city attorney reports.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Item 10B, future agenda items. Director Lopez.
Chair, it looks like we have 3 items coming up to the PC meeting. Our first one is site development for JD Fields. And we have our safety element and environmental justice element that's currently being finalized by staff and the consultants. So that will be coming before the commission very soon. And then we have our general plan progress reports. Those are also due at our next PC meeting as well.
Oh, thank you. Item 10C, planning commissioner reports. Director Lopez.
All right, do you want to start with Commissioner Booth?
Absent.
Absent, okay. Commissioner Hill,
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Worth,
Just wanted to thank this city for providing the training and the upcoming academy for the commission. I think that's going to be very valuable for the commissioners. So thank you. That's it.
Vice Chair Beamsdorfer.
I agree with Mr. Commissioner Worth as well. Thank the city for allowing us to go to the academy. The only thing I had to report is a customer, business owner came up to me over the weekend and on St. Patty's Day, a bar after 5 on Harbor Street, had a massive brawl, and a lot of people got into a fight. They were throwing pool ball cues around the bar, and a lot of blood everywhere. And they called 911 multiple times, and Hemet PD never showed up, and they still have not showed up. And it just something I just want to make public, because that's something that we pay our taxes for, to keep our residents, our citizens safe. And After 5 is literally right around the corner from Hemet Police Department. And the excuse was given was that it was in between shifts, but still, this should not have been completely dropped. So I just want to make that public, and I think that that should never happen. That should never happen to a business owner calling 911 and nobody's there to help. Other than that, nothing else to report.
Vice Chair, can you repeat the name of that business?
After 5.
After 5, thank you. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Chair. Sorry, Chair. Chair Lemke.
Thank you.
For some reason, I thought we had went through the list, but sorry about that.
I actually have a couple of things to report. I do want to sadly report that one of our sister city former councilmen, he was a staff member at the chamber. Russ passed away on the 12th of this month. So we were really sad and not expecting that. So I just wanted to invite everybody out on the 31st of this month at Ramona Event Center at 4 o'clock. You can all come for his memorial to celebrate his life. It always feels weird to keep going. You know, we have a reverse drawing coming up. We have the Ramona pageant coming up. We have a mixer this Wednesday, but unfortunately life goes on, and Russ would have wanted us all to keep going. So there's a lot going on. So pick up a chat magazine, call the chamber, check out our website, but lots going on, and we'd love to have you involved. Thank you. Anything else from you? Last minute, last chance? No? If there's nothing more, we will be adjourned until the meeting of April 4th, 2023 at 6 p.m.